Greetings, fellow humans, and welcome to the Book Wormhole. And we're in the same outfit as my last video because I'm filming this on the same day. I rarely do that because it's really hard for me to do. So this month, my local library did a book sale to raise money to support the library, and so what is better than buying books, especially really cheap books, because everything was either $1 for softcover books or $1.50 for hardcover books. So obviously I was gonna go to this thing. The books I was kind of hoping to pick up, I was really hoping to find Dune Messiah and also Children of Dune, just because I want to read on in the series, and though I can borrow these books from the library, it's just like less stressful for me if I just own them and I can kind of read them at my own pace. I kind of knew that was going to be a long shot because they're so popular, but I didn't find them. And actually the sci-fi section was kind of weak. It was both sci-fi and fantasy, like, pushed together in one table, and like all of the books was pretty much Stephanie Meyer books and Stephen King. But then I found like other books in like different sections. It was a little weirdly organized. I did end up finding like 2 books I really wanted though. One of them I was actually gonna spend full price on, but I ended up finding it. But anyway, I love doing book haul videos, so I'm gonna do a video of the books I got. First book I found was The Fifth Wave by Rick Yancey. This is, I think, Tiffany from Masquerade Chick's favorite book, or at least it's like one of the rare books that she's actually rated 5-star, because she tends to be more of a harsher rater. So that's part of the reason I wanted to pick up this book, but also because like I actually read a lot of Rick Yancey's books when I was a teenager. This wasn't out at the time, I don't think, but I haven't followed up with him since, and this one is actually a science fiction, so kind of up my alley, though I'm not too much of a fan of alien invasion plots. But again, since Tiffany speaks so highly of this book, I wanted to give it a chance. The next book I got was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I don't remember who was reading this book, but during one of the reading sprints I did, someone was reading it, and if that is you watching this, put in the comments, because I'd like to say thank you for recommending me this book. But this is like very different from what I usually read. It's fiction that takes place in the 1950s, and it's about this like really scandalous movie star of the time, and I'm assuming it's gonna be like some sort of Black Widow plot where she keeps marrying men and killing them, so it's just different for what I usually read. And I do occasionally like to wander outside of what I usually read because it makes things more exciting for me, and I do really like the 1950s as well. The next book I got was The Handmaidens Tale by Margaret Atwood. This is my sister's favorite book, and I haven't read anything by Margaret Atwood, but just in general, my sister really enjoys her work. I know that she's a really good feminist writer, and that this is a science fiction dystopian, I think it would be categorized as. I have been a little cautious about picking this up previously, just because I feel like some of the content is a little sensitive to me. It's definitely, there's a lot of like abuse of women in this book, and like I think sexual assault probably too, so I'm a little wary of that. But again, for $1, I was gonna give it a chance. The next book I got is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, and I didn't get this with the dust jacket on it, but truth be told, one of the main reasons I don't like hardcover books is because I find the dust jackets to be really annoying. So I'm not too disappointed. Again, $1.50 for this, so I don't care. Another thing that's a little different for me to read, but I find with like contemporary books, I usually like them more if it's about an experience that I haven't had particularly, and this one, it follows a black teenager, and in the afterwake of police brutality incident. I'm almost confident. I don't know how closely related it is to her, but I can just imagine even just being a black teen and seeing a complete stranger black person being brutally murdered. I can imagine that is really tough and scary to have to grow up with. Obviously this book has received a lot of acclaim as well, so yeah, I definitely think it's a good find. The next book I got is also a young adult. This one I think is science fiction dystopian. It's called The Enclave by Aguirre. I kind of forgot about this book for a while because it was originally on my TBR years ago when I saw this like book recommendation post that was like recommendations based off of video games, and from that post I did actually pick up and read the recommendation for Mass Effect, which was Illumini, and I liked the book. Don't get me wrong, but there is just such a weak connection between Illumini and Mass Effect. It's literally like, okay, they're in the same genre, I guess. But this one sounds like it's gonna be a little bit closer to the video game it was recommended from, this was the Fallout recommendation, and this is about people living in a bunker, which is a part of Fallout games. Usually the main character is someone who has been living in a nuclear fallout shelter. So when I saw this book, I just like remembered, like I was looking for this years ago and I forgot about it. So I'm like, I should pick this up. And hopefully this one will be closer to the video game it was recommended from. The next book I found was the one I actually really wanted and I was specifically looking for. The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks by Rebecca Skloots. And this is a nonfiction book about how cells were taken from a black woman named Henrietta Lacks, and they've just been like cloned and like reused over and over again for various medical studies, and actually like her cells have helped so much with scientific discovery, but they were taken without her permission or her knowing. And that's problematic because like her family has gotten nothing for her contribution, as well as like it's like almost like stealing a corpse pretty much. But turns out a lot of medical history has benefited off of using black people like that. So that's kind of a topic I'm just interested in learning more about. Obviously, it's something that I've never learned or even heard about before, but at the same time, it's like, I'm not too surprised that like shady stuff like that has happened, but I am disgusted, you know? So yeah, I was actually looking for this book and I found it, and there was like 2 other copies of it too. In the nonfiction section. I just wanted to be like, yeah, like get this book because like it sounds like it's so good. The last book I got was The Time Traveler's Wife by Audrey Niffinger, and I was looking for this book specifically and I almost didn't find it, but I was standing in line about to cash out and I saw it and I was just like reached over and grabbed it because like I was looking for this. So this book I wanted to read specifically because my friend Jean-Paul, who runs Space Cowboy Books, a science fiction independent bookstore, recommended it to me, and I found that to be a really surprising recommendation from him. His recommendations are always really solid and I always really like him, and he is obviously very well read in science fiction, but I never imagined he would suggest this book. Apparently he really likes it, and just that unexpectedness alone makes me want to read this book. I don't read a lot of time travel plots either, and I know the one time travel romance book I read this year was a huge disappointment to me, but I really want to read one that is actually good, and apparently this one is. So that is all the books I got at the library book sale, and I spent a whopping $8.50, which I am so excited about. Who doesn't like a good sale? Let me know if you've read any of these books and what you think of them, and also if you were that person who was reading Evelyn Hugo, let me know. Because I can't remember who it was. I just remember they were in the audience. And it was a long time ago, but I never forgot. But don't tell me that you hated it. Or maybe you can tell me if you hated it. But I'll be sad. Anyway, thanks for watching, and please stay tuned.